I've altered the layout slightly to show this little keystroke visualizer app that I'm running, which for this video and for more down the line will hopefully keep a record of everything pressed. I'll be explaining as thoroughly as I can so that you don't actually need to look down there, but it's there just in case anyway. So let's move our user perspective camera around and get to grips with navigating. And I know it's the user perspective camera just because in the top left of the 3D view you can see it says user persp. We can also get orthographic views as well, which we'll take a look at in a moment. So all of the main navigation actions require the middle mouse button. So to rotate, we just need the middle mouse button on its own. So if we just do that, you can see I'm rotating around the scene. To pan, we just need to hold down Shift and middle mouse button. And now we can see we're panning across the scene. And then to zoom in, we can just hold down Control and then middle mouse button and then slide upwards like that. And then downwards to sort of pull away. You can also use the middle mouse wheel to scroll in and out of an object as well. This is something that I find myself doing quite a bit. So let's take a look at some of the other viewing angles that we can take on this object. So we're already looking through the user perspective view as we've pointed out before, but how about some other views? So let's take a look at the front view, for example, and to do that all I did was press number 1 on the numpad. So all of the hotkeys here we're going to find in the numpad area. So number 1 on the numpad takes you to the front view, and if you hold down Control and then number 1 on the numpad, it'll take you to the opposite of that. So instead of the front, we're now at the back. And if we press 3 on the numpad, it'll take us to the right, and if we hold Control and 3, then we get the left, and then 7 for the top, and then Control 7 and we get the bottom. And you can see that a lot of those views are pretty much more familiarly seen in orthographic mode, but we're still in perspective mode. If we want to change that, we can press 5 on the numpad and that will toggle us through. So right now we're looking at the right orthographic mode, and if we hold Shift and middle mouse, we can sort of pan around the view. If we just middle mouse and click, we will see ourselves in more of a 3D view, but we're still in orthographic mode, so we don't get any foreshortening and basically zero perspective. All of these hotkeys that I'm using you can actually find down in the footer area of the 3D view, and you can see we've got the view menu. If we click on that, you can see them all down here. This is what we've basically just been covering. A couple of other things that I wanted to point out is just to be able to view something. So if I actually just scroll the middle mouse wheel to just zoom out a little bit, I'm going to right click on this lamp, and if I want to view it, I can just press the full stop or the period key on the numpad, and that will zoom me right into it. And then if I middle click around here, we can see the rest of the scene. I'm just going to press 5 to just move that into a perspective view though, so I don't get too lost. And then if I just want to right click onto here to view this, and then we can press period on the numpad again, and then we can basically zoom right into that. If we want to be able to see everything in the scene, we can also use just the home key. So I've built this pretty basic scene to give us something to show the benefits of another way in which we can navigate through our scene. This is the fly mode, and we can jump into this by going Shift F. And then once we do that, we can use WAS and D on the keyboard to sort of move around, and then using the mouse we can kind of rotate our vision. So it's kind of similar to an FPS game in that way, or at least in this point we're actually just sort of flying around. And to actually increase and decrease the speed, you can use the mouse wheel. I'm just scrolling through there. We can also go up and down by going Q to go down and then E to go up. And in fact, if you look in the details of the header bar, which is actually at the bottom of the 3D view at the moment, you can see all the various different options are there. And you'll notice that happens for several tools in Blender. So if you're looking for some hints sometimes, you'll find them there. And you can see it starts off with LMB for left mouse button return to confirm, escape right mouse button to cancel, and then tab for gravity. Now this is pretty much the most interesting thing that I wanted to kind of convey on this map that I've built here. It doesn't really make much sense, this, by the way. It's just something to move around in. So if we press tab, we kind of create gravity, and also it sort of naturally Blender works out what surfaces to kind of give some basic collision to, so we can now walk on the floor. It's not given anything like this, a collision. We can just sort of pass straight through, but this is pretty cool nonetheless. So you can very quickly get something going for a first-person map of some kind, and really almost as soon as you finish modeling you can kind of roam around in it. The only other thing I'd like to mention right now regarding navigating and getting around the view is jumping back and forth between a typical quad view. So quad view is a view which gives you a perspective camera and 3 orthographic views all within the same 3D view, and we can get to it by using the shortcut Control Alt and Q. And you can see we get the user perspective camera over here, and we've also got a right orthographic mode here, and then we've also got the front orthographic and the top orthographic. And if we just go Control Alt and Q again, we can return back to our previous main view. We can also find that option within our view menu, just near the top, toggle quad view, and if we open up our properties sidebar with the N key, you can find it down near the bottom here as well, toggle quad view. Also, you'll spot an extra couple of options to customize slightly how they behave and relate to each other. So that should wrap things up for the basics on navigating around Blender's 3D view.